Good spin-offs require delicate balancing acts. Lean too heavily in one direction and you stray from the source material. Lean too far in the other and you're little more than fan service. A good spin-off takes advantage of the world it sprang from without being beholden to it. This is no easy task. Maybe that's why the very word spin-off is often used as a pejorative. With so many offshoots of movie franchises and television shows, many tend to fall by the cultural wayside. They're forgettable and pandering, excuses to waste time until the next full season or blockbuster sequel arrive. But of course, spin-offs can also be a thing of beauty. As long as there has been entertainment, there have been supporting characters that draw so much attention, they break into their own starring roles. From Cheers came Frasier. From Breaking Bad came Better Call Saul. From Shrek came Puss in Boots.
Nothing will distract me. Oh.
Video games are no strangers to the phenomenon. In fact, some modern franchises are built on their spin-off potential. Some became so successful and ubiquitous on their own, you might be surprised to learn that they even began as spin-offs. And while it hasn't eclipsed the scope and quality of its original source material, the recent Thronebreaker The Witcher Tales has earned a spot among the pantheon of great spin-off video games. It carries CD Projekt Red or CD Projekt Red's world into a new genre. It tells a story from a different perspective, and it sets itself apart from the universe that spawned it. And in doing so, it has become the perfect video game spin-off. If you've played The Witcher 3, you've probably tried your hand at Gwent. The in-universe collectible card game is played across the Northern Kingdoms, pitting travelers against each other in homes and taverns alike. Thronebreaker, on the other hand, rips Gwent from the confines of The Witcher 3 and places it at the center of an entirely new RPG. You fill the shoes of Queen Meve, ruler of Rivia and Lyria, during the second Nilfgaardian invasion. Basically, it's a prequel to the first Witcher game. It's a reward of its own to explore the places and meet the characters we've only heard about in the original trilogy, but Thronebreaker takes things further, using Meve's unique perspective as queen to tell a story about the burden of leadership and the difficult choices she has to make. These dilemmas are a central part of Thronebreaker's story. Between battles, the RPG places you in Sophie's Choice scenarios that avoid the usual black and white of simpler games.
Sergeant, all men of 15 summers or more will join our ranks at once. They'll serve 5 years.
I think perspective is a key factor in any good spin-off. Better Call Saul recognized the humor and storytelling potential in Bob Odenkirk's character and used his occupations as a con man and a lawyer to show another side of the justice system in the American Southwest. The Witcher 3, to use the most recent series entry, is about a lone wanderer in a dangerous world. Thronebreaker shows us that same world from a different social stratum, one in which trust plays a much larger role, as Meve's allegiance is sought from numerous angles. After all, few people ever bowed to Geralt of Rivia. The shift in storytelling perspective is aided, of course, by a shift in gameplay. As opposed to the third-person action of its RPG predecessors, Thronebreaker uses the strategy and collecting of a card game to drive its action. This fits well in a game where you play as a leader. You travel the kingdoms recruiting new soldiers or cards to your cause. You bolster your army's might as you fight Nilfgaard across a variety of locales. Thronebreaker does have problems with difficulty spikes, or in some cases, a complete lack of difficulty, but more often, the rules of Gwent make for challenging and rewarding battles. Thronebreaker is at its very best when it embraces the puzzle aspects of certain scenarios. Take this fight, for instance, against an Algul. In The Witcher 3, these enemies can regenerate their own health, forcing Geralt to stay on the offensive. In Thronebreaker, that ability is much more dangerous. By consuming dead units from the enemy deck, the Algul absorbs their health, becoming stronger with each passing turn, and making the fight more difficult the longer you take. So in both cases, Alguls are dangerous. But in Thronebreaker, there's a new twist on that danger. It's a microcosm for the spin-off as a whole. It takes aspects of the universe we're familiar with and asks us to see them through a new lens. It's important to note at this point that I don't normally gravitate toward collectible card games. I dabbled in Hearthstone when it first released, but by and large, the genre just doesn't grab me. I've always preferred the flexibility of a turn-based tactics game to the more rigid rules of a CCG. But Thronebreaker grabbed me, and it didn't let go. I came for the Witcher world, but I stayed for the characters and, more surprisingly, the nuanced card combat. It's based in a universe I adore, but it's eased me into a genre I don't normally care for. By offering new perspectives, both in terms of story and overall genre, Thronebreaker pulled me out of my comfort zone, and I could not be happier about it. As I mentioned already, there are numerous flaws in Thronebreaker. Its difficulty is all over the place, its story slows to a crawl in too many spots, it also overstays its welcome by 5 hours or so. As with every other video game, Thronebreaker is not perfect. But in its function as a spin-off, Thronebreaker is perfect. It adds to the Witcher world without retreading it. It makes great use of source material without being hindered by it. There's much more than fan service here, but fans will find plenty to love. Now that I've beaten Thronebreaker, I can't wait to see where else CD Projekt can take the Witcher universe. If this one is any indication, future Witcher spin-offs will demand my attention.